Welcome to your Barbados Today Morning News Update for Tuesday, November 3. So glad you could join us. Unacceptable. That's how two officials have classified government's treatment of the micro, small and medium-sized enterprise sector as businesses continue to struggle to stay afloat. Both Democratic Labour Party spokesman on business Ryan Walters and Chief Executive Officer of the Small Business Association, Senator Dr. Lynette Holder, have expressed grave disappointment at what they call a lack of urgency and transparency from at least two state agencies. They both contend that fund access, which was mandated to provide wage support for qualifying businesses from a $20 million stimulus during May and June, has been holding back while businesses continue to close. They are equally concerned that there has been no information forthcoming from the Barbados Trust Loan Fund Limited on the $10 million that was provided for that fund to assist the sector. A supplemental for $6 million was recently approved for both funds for the purposes of on-lending. New rules are coming for the island's shipping industry. It will soon be mandatory for boats operating commercially in Barbados' waters to be licensed, while leisure vessels must have the relevant documentation to show they are in good shape to be at sea. Barbados' maritime attorney, Nala King, today outlined some of the changes under the shipping domestic vessels legislation, which will clearly outline government's new framework for how Barbados registered commercial and small vessels and also foreign visiting small craft vessels will be governed. King was speaking during a panel discussion titled Telling Our Story, held as part of the Bluefest 2020 week of activities.
Essentially, what we are seeking to do with the international and domestic legislation is to transform the entire shipping industry of Barbados, to make it more sustainable, promote economic growth and prosperity, train people to operate in various capacities in ocean-based, i.e. wet maritime jobs, actually going to sea, and dry jobs based on shore, example, working in ports, working in educational institutions, training persons how to operate in these environments. The domestic vessels legislation has various provisions which would promote this. For instance, we made provision for those persons who have lots of years of experience on the water to train others who would now be coming up in seamanship, navigation, and other marine operations. There's also provision for foreign registered vessels who like to visit Barbados, but after 6 months they have to leave, which is an inconvenience, is also an expense. We are introducing a cruising permit system to allow them to stay here for a year on that cruising permit, and when it expires they just renew again. Also for pleasure vessels who do not operate for profit, we have also extended that if they want to put their vessels to temporary commercial gain, we are offering temporary permits for them to operate and also make a profit.
Meanwhile, Maritime Affairs and Blue Economy Minister Kurt Humphrey says government is still examining the idea of a water taxi service. He also noted that there have been growing calls for a regional ferry service, but says this will require strong support from the private sector.
It is something that I'm actively looking at to allow people to move from the north to the south. People are asking me, are we going to have a regional ferry service? And then there are also challenges associated with that, with Barbados' position and whether it's going to be economically viable. And again, it goes back to the original point I made about private sector interests and being able to stimulate the private sector to do what essentially will be a private sector investment. So there are a number of things in that regard.
Progress on the Barbados Association of Retailers, Vendors and Entrepreneurs Barven's upscale vendors market is expected to get back on track next year following delays brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. Since May, visitors have been plying their trade in the 72 stalls on the Mighty Grinder Highway in anticipation of a permanent outdoor structure that was supposed to start construction later this year. During a press conference on Monday afternoon, Barven President Alistair Alexander provided this update.
Everything is not in place as we would like it to be, but we are having a great time. And we expect that Barbados will see something phenomenal from this entrepreneurial spirit that is alive and well here. And we are looking forward to the rail, what we call the rail market. We have already submitted plans to government, and We know that under the present circumstances, they had expected to start to roll it out this year, but we can see that that will likely not happen this year, right? But we expect that there would be a start early next year, okay, of the rail facility there at Spring Garden.
Despite the setbacks, Alexander revealed that the organization has partnered with the Transport Board to create a service that will move people from central Bridgetown to the Mighty Griner Highway, where the temporary facility is open for business on Saturdays. Transport Board Operations Manager Gina Boyce expressed her delight at the venture.
We are very happy to be a partner and to support this initiative. Transportation is the lifeblood of any successful business, making sure you can get your customers to you. And we were happy to provide what we call the bargain shuttle to leave from the Fairshell Street Terminal, passes through the Princess Alice Terminal, and then on to the Mighty Griner Highway. This bus service starts at 6 a.m. in the morning, and it leaves at 20 past the hour on the hour, so 6 o'clock, 7:20, 8:20, all the way until our last service to the highway, which is at 4:20 p.m. And we believe, based on these hours and times, that we can provide the regular service that will be needed to get to this area for persons to get fresh fruits and vegetables. And this extravaganza will be even happier to help to make sure that it's a success so that persons can bear fruit from what you're providing there. I think is a wonderful initiative, and the board and management is happy to assist.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional news now. In the Bahamas, mixed reaction to new travel protocols outlined by the government. The government has removed the 14-day requirement for quarantine. In addition, travelers are required to have a negative PCR test within 7 days of their travel to the Bahamas, and a rapid antigen test will be required upon arrival by ARC. Theo Seeley of Eyewitness News in the Bahamas tells us more.
Wheels touched down at Linden-Hilling International Airport for a second day today, just 48 hours after the government's new travel protocol has been rolled out. First problem, travelers say the process to acquire the health travel visa was a hassle.
It's asking the same things over and over and over again. And when you do it on your phone, it is not as good as maybe you can do on a computer, but not everybody has access to a computer.
This is the second time I've come and had to get a travel visa, second visit. And the first time was very simple. This time the site kept crashing.
I will tell you, it is tedious. There's so much that they are asking of you, and I understand the necessity for it. But if your internet connection isn't strong, you are going to be upset.
After crossing that first hurdle, travelers say it was smooth sailing, and they felt pretty secure with all the safety protocol in place.
They checked your COVID test and your health card in the plane, JetBlue twice before you get on the plane. So, yeah, I think everything was respectable and within a reasonable protocol.
They check on the airport many times that you get the health visa and everything is not in place.
So it was safe, it was efficient, everybody checked all the paperwork and did the checks and going in, so it was great.
Compared to last month when you have to put the Hubcap app on and everything, it was pretty seamless today.
It's election day in America. 24 hours earlier, President Donald Trump and Democratic rival Joe Biden made a last-ditch push for votes in battleground states as their campaigns prepared for post-election disputes that could prolong a divisive presidential election.
One last chance to convince voters before it's too late. Election day's approaching, and Joe Biden and Donald Trump are putting all their efforts into just a few key states.
It's time for Donald Trump to pack his bags and go home. We're done.
Traveling between Ohio and Pennsylvania, Joe Biden's hoping to rally voters from states that cost Hillary Clinton the election back in 2016. Meanwhile, the president is once again travelling across the country, holding speeches from North Carolina to Michigan. Just like Biden, Trump's also hoping to sway voters in Pennsylvania, but he's lashing out against the state's decision to allow counting until 3 days after the election.
You have to have a date. You can't extend dates. The danger that could be caused by that extension, and especially when you know what goes on in Philadelphia.
Pennsylvania will be able to count postal votes received up until the 6th of November.
Double-sided, y'all. Check them out.
A state where Trump last won by just 44,000 votes.
We are apprehensive that there might be no results because the Democrats have grotesquely exploited this Chinese flu to thwart the election.
This could be the area where the election comes down to, so we're hoping that he'll win this area with a landslide.
While many Democrats have already cast their votes, Trump is calling on Republican voters to head to the polls on the day, making any predictions over the outcome of this election very uncertain.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.